and talks a little bit about the bridging with the Sentinels, how we kind of took some of the original Sentinels designs, which in a way we thought looked a little bit, in some ways was a little, for lack of a better word, a little silly. Didn't have that gritty realness of the original Robotech series, And Carl was sharing a little bit about the process of what happened with the Sentinels. They were on such a breakneck schedule for the Sentinels. Think about this. Macross, the original 1/3 of the Robotech series, started production in 1980, and it started airing in the fall of 1982. And so it underwent for 36 episodes, it underwent a 2-year gestation period, where on the other hand, with Sentinels, they were trying to produce 65 episodes in the period of 1 year. And one of the things he lamented happened was during the design process, they were on such a breakneck schedule, they didn't have time to do any retakes, meaning that if a design was submitted and it looked, and it wasn't up to par with what he wanted, he couldn't ask for a revised design or else they would fall behind schedule. And so we actually went through and that time underwent a little more polish with some of these designs. So there was talk before that, when the new comics were being re-released, they're going to throw the Sentinels away. No, that's not the case. We're going to reimagine them. We'll refine some of the elements. But the Robotech universe, especially the Sentinels, is an important part of the Robotech universe. And so Predator Shadow Chronicles, that was released last year. However, we had Love and War Story that was actually in production, and it was slated to come out at the end of 2010. It was actually slated to come out this past Christmas season. Unfortunately, I don't know if you guys follow the news. DC Comics actually, because of the shrinkage of the entire comic book industry, you guys are well aware of this. The numbers across the entire print industry are actually shrinking. So one thing that happened was our longtime partner, DC Comics, actually formally closed down the Wildstorm studio, which is really a shame because this book was, we were really looking forward to this book. It was looking sweet because it had a lot of extra material. This is material from the original miniseries, but it has a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff about how Myria came to be, the fate of Dana. But the nice thing we're looking forward to is that, the U.S. release was canceled, but it's going to be released internationally, and I believe the first time it's going to be released internationally is China. So look forward to the Chinese release of this particular book. So it'll be an excuse to brush up on your Chinese. Oh, by the way, at last year's auction, this Robotech that Carl Masick had signed. Were you there?
I was bidding on it.
Oh, okay. I think it went for like $475. Yeah, it was bonkers, and everybody thought the guy had, overpaid for it. But it was one of those rare instances. How often does Carl Masick and Tony Oliver get together? So man, But Carl really loved the toys that Toonami was working on. He had actually visited Toonami and he gave him feedback on their toy designs. And one of the things that's been a real big success is the Battle Pods. They've been released in many different versions. We've got all the variants, including the movie variants, and we've got this coming soon.
Log.
And actually, this happened so recently that we haven't gotten photos for clearance yet, but we'll actually post them on our website soon. Once we get some official photos back from George Sun. George Sun is actually doing more in this 1/100 scale that's been a big success. He's doing more Macross the movie variants, and I'm trying to remember which ones they were. Oh yeah,
Elan Seeker.
The Elan Seeker
Ostrich.
and Ostrich.
Okay.
Oh, you've been on the blogs more than I have.
No, well, in between phone calls at work, yeah.
Okay.
Trainer.
You know what? I will actually I'll actually ask him to see if I can get some pre-release images for him. So if you come to the Robotech Free For All Academy tomorrow, I'll see if I can get some pre-release. it's hard not to be jaded, but it's really exciting when we always meet people, to who this is news. And give you a quick update of the folks involved on the production team. The producers who have been attached to this project are Keith Goldsman. He's got 2 Academy Awards for Best Screenplay, but he's also well known for big summer action films. He's worked on I Am Legend, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and Hancock. Other producer who is attached to this project is Jason Etter. He's got a long history with us on Robotech. He worked with us on Robotech, The Shadow Chronicles, but in terms of big budget action films, he's also worked on Wanted, and he's attached to Wanted 2, another big, huge comic book based film. And also, oh yeah, this guy. Have you guys ever heard of this guy? All right. He made $1 billion for Sony Pictures, working on the Spider-Man series. Those 3 films, it's one of the few franchises that have made that ridiculous amount of money. And he just doesn't do money makers. He's also a producer, and he's gotten critical acclaim for the films he has worked on as a producer. Not sure if you guys know that he's gotten 7 Academy Award nominations. Not him personally, but his film that he produced, Seabiscuit, did get that many award nominations. So he knows what he's doing. And the writers, the writing team, the writers who have been attached working on the project include Lawrence Kasdan. He's got 4 Academy Award nominations. The old Star Wars and Indiana Jones film fans know him as the one who wrote the good films of those series. Empire Strikes Back, Raiders of the Lost Ark, anyone?
Those obscure films,
Yeah,
no one ever saw those.
And Alfred Gow and Miles Miller, those are the 2 guys who wrote Spider-Man 2, which fans know as the good film of that series. And Tom Rob Smith, New York Times bestseller for Child 44. It's an alternate history novel about how the course of human history could have been changed if the conditions between the United States and Soviet Union were different. How those themes might actually work in Robotech. You get the gist. So these are the guys working on the film. And one of the other things we're grateful for having Warner Brothers on board for is merchandising. We're not going to kid ourselves. Harmony Gold. We've had a lot of success with Robotech over the years, but in terms of reaching a much bigger audience, you need a much bigger engine, and Warner Brothers merchandising has done an unbelievable job of franchises like Harry Potter and Batman. So we think they're the right folks to be partnering with. And now here's a question fans have been asking. What has Carl Mason been up to? One of his last works that he was working on is War Eagles. It is a novel that he wrote about, it's a alternate history. It's a swashbuckling adventure based in the early 20th century. And it was based on an unfinished story outline by Marion C. Cooper, the creator of King Kong. And he actually finished the story as a novel, and it was released through Ray Harryhausen, or it was released in association with Ray Harryhausen, who wrote the foreword. Excellent novel. Recommend you guys get a read. It's on sale on Robotech.com, and the inventory that we have on Robotech.com were personally autographed by Carl, so you got those. I've been working with the organizers there on the Robotech display. This is part of actually a traveling exhibit. It has a lot of elements, some from Carl's personal collection, some from Hollywood Gold, and a documentary on, part of the documentary on how Robotech came to be here on display. And the nice thing is that after they were done in California, the display became part of a traveling exhibit, and so it's going to different state fairs around the country. So, actually, the display in Washington, so we'll try to track down where they are going next, so we can have this information on Robotech.com. And, oh yeah, the question folks were having, it's what happens when a series becomes very mature, has been around for such a long time, is what is the definitive origin of Batman? I mean, that's been around long since the 30s. You know, is the original Bill Finger, you know, drawn version, you know, the official Batman, you know, origin, or is it the, you know, the Batman version from the 80s, or is it the Christopher Nolan version, which everybody seems to like as well? You know, there's, believe it or not, there are a lot of people who will only look at Michael Keaton as the Batman, and do not like the Christopher Nolan version. You know, why? I don't understand, because I think the Christopher Nolan version is awesome.
You don't count them.
You know,
Yeah.
There's always folks who have their own version of continuity that they prefer. You know, Macross fans, there's Macross 7 fans who can't stand the original Macross. And there's Gundam Wing fans who can't sit through the original Gundam. And then the Gundam Original Universal Century folks who will not touch Gundam Wing with a 90-foot pole.
You see all
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great question. So you're going to get a limited edition Valkyrie from Macross. There you go.
And you know what? This is going to happen with Robotech live action. Is obviously it's going to be a little bit silly to base. You know, there's some fans who say if you don't base the events of the future in 2009, it's not going to be Robotech to me. And I'm like, well, you know, I mean, look at Iron Man. It was a huge hit, but obviously they couldn't base Tony Stark being captured in the Vietnam War anymore.
Yeah.
So they had to change it to Afghanistan. And yeah, the story still worked.
Yeah.
They just kind of moved the timeline around. Well, we're going to have to face the same reality with Robotech.
Sir,
So do you guys have any cast news as far as the live action movies?
No castings. I mean, that's really going to be something that's going to happen when the director has been selected. But there's no director selected, no castings.
yeah, wait. You had a question.
Just ask.
Oh, sorry.
It was answered.
Oh, yeah, we just answered it. Okay. Well, you know what? I'll give you something anyway. So.
All right.
Here we go. Right in the back, sir. In the back, right over there.
Yeah. Is there any plans to re-release the paperback series that they released like in the 90s? I was a huge fan of those books.
No, actually, they didn't release them.
Did they?
Yeah, they've been doing it over the last decade, and all of the original 85 episodes, the novels, it used to be a pain to collect all 12.
Yes.
And so they condensed. Well, actually, they didn't
Remember they
condense. They
originally condensed
compiled them
the
into
Macross.
4. They compiled them into 4 fat versions, and so you can get those really thick ones. They're like James Clavell size.
Oh, wow.
Okay, sir.
Any plans for future Blu-ray releases?
Blu-ray releases? Yes. You know what? For Shadow Chronicles, it was easy to do because we produced it in HD from the start. With the original series, Blu-ray is really expensive. This is something we eventually want to do. It's just that we don't have critical mass with the market quite yet. It's like even what happened with Robotech on DVD. It was a while before Robotech came out on DVD. We didn't come. I mean, it was Twister came out first. And it was like a few years. And even then, we got a lot of flack when Robotech was transitioning to DVD, why we were canceling VHS releases. You know, if you guys remember that.
And then the David Letterman's episode, right?
Huh?
The David Letterman episode? With the guy with the complaining about the 50 different versions?
Yeah. How many of you guys ever saw that?
I cleaned it off the website, but
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings in New Zealand, or you know what have you, or they shot was it Blade 2 in Eastern Europe. So, and to tell you the honest truth, I mean, you know, in terms of background scenery, all it's going to be is maybe a little, you know, maybe an island and a lot of outer space. So it could really be shot anywhere. Nobody knows. Huh?
Sir in the hat.
With like the recent popularity and success of like the Transformers War Within game and a lot of kind of more mech games coming out, Robotech plan on releasing a game maybe in conjunction with
Yeah,
them?
it is important. It's probably the next most important license after the live action version. and Warner understanding how valuable that license is, that's another license that they picked up. They not only wanted the live action film, they also wanted the video game rights. So they want to tie that into the release of the live action film.
Sir.
Actually, it's a two-parter. Part one is live action. Are any plans to separate them in terms of stories, or are they going to get elements from each of the individual stories into one composite for live action movie? And second question is, are you ever going to release any of the art books for all the mech designs that you've drawn, which haven't necessarily made on the screen, but just like line art and stuff like that?
You know, we kind of did that with Robotech Artlight. The difficulty of that is that the market for production design is really, really small. You know, you have to go to Barnes and Nobles or a bookstore like that to find those types of books of just ordinary hand, because the Japanese market is a little bit different than the US, but for production designs, the only time that we get a chance to release books like those is right when something comes out. We have to do that book. So I would say probably right around when our next animated project comes. In terms of giving away elements of the plot story, I didn't bring a gun, so I can't shoot you. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to.
I'm not saying give away a plot, but I mean, would it be correct to assume that
I can't give anything away. I'm sorry.
All right.
You know, because I know in this modern Twitter, Facebook era, you know, as soon as you tweet something wrong, you're in big trouble. So no.
Agreed.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Is there a release date?
No release date. No release date.
Have you picked the production and the director and all that? Have you
Oh no, that's why you know they haven't gotten as far as selecting a director. So of course there is no. You know,
It's too early in the process for those type of questions. Just so you know, and also because you brought up about a release date, I know you guys have been online. You've seen all these release dates, folks. That's fanboy speculation. There is no release date yet. It's just too early in the process for folks.
But it's going to happen.
What?
But it's going to happen for sure. It's going to come out.
For sure. Is anything for sure?
That's what he's saying.